Welcome to episode 74 of The Leap Home. Stand Up.
In this week's episode, Sam has to help a budding comedy trio settle their differences, put on a great show and avoid being picked off by a disgruntled mobster. Brushing off his friend's apparent violent tendencies, Sam must find a way to pair him up with the third member of their troupe, while convincing a Vegas mafioso not to square off an apparent love triangle by eliminating the competition. Can he defuse the situation? Or will his friend end up as the punchline to a deadly gag?
In Italian, we say he's probably sleeping with the fishes. But of course, there's no fishes in Las Vegas, so he's probably sleeping with the scorpions, or sleeping with the centipedes, or sleeping with the rattlesnakes.
I got the picture.
Good evening, Ian.
Hello, Gerry.
You well?
I'm not too bad. Sleeping well. Yourself?
With the fishes?
Well, one option.
This was another episode where I think there was, shall we say, a dubious objective.
Well, I've written that down. I found Sam's choices irresponsible and the other lead character quite difficult to root for, if not impossible.
In fairness to Sam, however, he does flag this up. He does highlight it.
He mentions it and then ignores the fact that he's brought it up.
Okay.
One more week till the end of the season.
Take a break for a couple of weeks. Well, we'll take a break of recording for a few weeks, and it may turn into a publication break of, a month?
Ish.
Right about
4 to 6 weeks, yeah.
4 to 6, good. No more than
10.
2 months tops, yeah. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll have a short break and we'll be back.
With season 5, rush to the finish.
That's it. I've heard season 5 is the best season.
I've heard it's the worst.
Yes, so have I.
Yeah. Sharks leaped all over the place. Leapt? I don't know. Anyway.
Quantum leapt.
Before we discuss this week's episode, can I rattle off the socials once more? We are at Leap Home Podcast on Twitter and Facebook and so on. Please come chat with us if you choose to do so. If you want to see show notes for each episode where we put in interesting links about the people who are involved in these episodes, go to theleaphome.com. You can leave comments there if you choose. And if you're very impatient and you want to hear next week's episode, the final one of the series, 1 week early, you can find it now on our Columbo Podcast Productions YouTube channel, where we would encourage you to hit that little button for notifications.
Done?
I am.
Let's crack on.
The intro is very, very, very similar to what we saw at the end of last week. I think there's one extra line this time.
Yeah,
but
Sam, well...
Do you want to go through the whole thing? We did cover it in last week's podcast.
Sam finds himself on stage as part of a comedy duo and struggles with a heckler and the punchline to his partner's gag.
Yeah, he's got no idea what's going on.
Well, you wouldn't, would you?
He's not intrinsically funny. He can't make anything up that will make anybody laugh.
Before we get on with it, this is a very shouty episode.
Yeah, I had a lot of issues with this episode. I didn't enjoy it watching it.
I did. I liked it. I liked it better than last week's. And you liked last week's quite a lot.
I liked last week's.
It's all about style, all opinions.
Yeah.
Mine's yours right, yours is wrong, but hey.
That's also an opinion. After a quick oh boy, which is not a great punchline, we get the standard credits and return here to the Pocono Club on the 30th of April 1959.
Where Mac, that's his partner, tries to joke his way out of Davy's lack of understanding of the act.
Yes, that's Sam.
And tries to deflect attention by arguing with this heckler who has a very busty partner. I noticed that.
Was that his partner or was it his friend's partner?
Well, I think...
So this heckler's a guy called Joey, who is a standard sidekick type. Did you think Mac was this guy's name or short for his surname? Because his surname was it MacArthur? Or yeah.
No, I assumed it was a shortened version. People call Mac are generally... That's their surname.
Yeah, so we don't know his first name and we never find that out.
Do we not?
I don't think so. He just gets referred to, even in the credits, he's referred to.
No, he's not.
As Mac.
Not in IMDb, he's not.
What's he referred to in IMDb?
Don't know.
Pretty sure it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. In any case, Sam tries a joke of his own which falls flat.
That's really generous, calling that a joke. He starts a story and doesn't know where it's going and kind of gets stuck halfway through. Yeah,
okay. Well, he tries to put on a performance of his own before a waitress joins him and tries her own hand at some comedy.
Yeah, this is a girl called Frankie. She does a bit of improv and essentially saves the act by getting some laughs from the audience, but also draws some more comments from this heckler.
Yeah. Can you remember her story? I think it's to do with a poodle and a cop.
Yeah, the cop The poodle's called Tiz, I think, and the cop thought she was a prostitute because
Right.
she's standing in the street corner shouting, "Here 'tis, here 'tis."
Depends.
It's
what you tell them.
Maybe it was funny in the 50s, I don't know. This is another issue I have with this entire episode. None of the funny bits are funny.
No, you see the sort of montage later on, and I'm thinking to myself, this is heavy going. This,
Yeah.
but
I
again,
wouldn't like to have bought a ticket for it.
people have different tastes. I mean, you're not going to get.
And I suppose, yes, culturally things were different. You've got different references and different expectations.
And I mean, I can't really talk. I love a gentle comedy.
I'm glad you said comedy.
For instance, I've said before, in the UK, the Last of the Summer Wine.
Is that a comedy?
Yeah, it's of course a comedy, yeah. But all these sort of shows I'm quite happy to watch.
I thought it was a documentary.
And all the old American ones as well, the Andy Griffith Show, etc. It's just gentle. It's not very cutting edge, or certainly by today's standards. But yeah.
Anyhow, getting back to the story in hand, Mac is clearly displeased by Frankie's intervention despite its success.
Yeah, and the heckler, he still won't stay quiet. And in the end, they are bundled off stage after Mac makes a grab for him.
I think he throws a punch, doesn't he?
Yeah, this is the first time we see these violent tendencies. And so the MC hurriedly asks for a round of applause for the guys and Frankie. And in the corridor of the hotel, we find out that she is in fact part of the act. So this wasn't a spontaneous decision to join them.
Well, not entirely, but I still think Mac's not comfortable with the fact that she's performed in this way.
No, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't planned that she would come on that night. But
yes.
She's not a stranger.
No, they know her. She is a friend.
Yeah.
But I think it was Sam's appearance that ruined the event. She's kind of improvised, as it were, on the spot and picked it up, and Mac's not happy about it.
Yeah, he's also not happy with Sam's performance, and after they all shout at each other, he storms into his changing room and suggests that she keep her feathers out of Davy's nose and go back to waiting tables where she belongs. He seems like an arse.
He does. He calls her the broad,
Yeah.
which seems put on.
I need to look this up. I know it's a pejorative.
So what's the root of the phrase?
Yeah, I don't know what it means. Broad, what does that mean?
Oh, I thought you meant you had looked it up.
No, I haven't.
Okay,
No, I keep meaning to.
fair enough. After Mac disappears into the dressing room, we see Frankie stifle a sob almost, and even though Sam tells her he thinks she was funny, she doesn't see any value in that when Mac clearly hates her.
Yeah, she doesn't think that sitting down and talking calmly will work, as he only cares about himself. So she shouts a barrage of insults at him through the door, just as Al arrives, who tells Sam to attempt to probe her feelings.
How do you really feel about him?
Oh, I'm crazy about him.
I knew it.
You're kidding.
No. I mean, you know, Mac, he can be so sweet. When we first started going out, he used to hold my chair and help me with my coat and light my cigarette, and I don't even smoke. And then you offer to give me a shot, and he turns into a futz.
Close. Look, you're a very funny lady, Frankie. And I don't think you should let Mac or anybody else tell you different.
You really think so?
Yeah, you can make me anytime. Laugh. Make me laugh.
So
Anytime.
you just dry your eyes and forget about waiting on tables.
Tables? All you idiots can go back to waiting on tables. What kind of a stunt was that with the customer? No one swings on a patron of mine.
Lou Collins, the owner of the Coconut Club.
Mac was just a little nervous about trying me out in the act tonight.
Well, you're on the payroll.
And where is that idiot partner of yours?
With your partner, McKay. By the way, you're in the Poconos.
You mean Mac?
What other idiot partner have you got?
The Cocono in
Well,
the Poconos.
And I'm not considering you because you deserve better.
Deserves better than what? You don't get any better than Parker and McKay, buddy, and it just so happens you are damn lucky to have us in this two-bit rundown.
All right, now look, Mac.
Sam, it's 1959,
It's not a good
and you're
idea.
about to get fired.
Hole in the wall of a dime!
You're fired!
I'm fired.
Thanks for the advance warning.
You got all the warning you need.
You can't fire me. I got a contract.
Watch me. I'll do it again.
Why don't we just talk about this, okay?
You're fired. How is that?
Mac again, they're just punching someone for no reason. He's got no control.
Absolute scumbag.
Yeah. At this point, Carlo, who is the older man at the table with the heckler, and Joey, who was the heckler, come upstairs with a woman that's immediately sent off to powder her nose, with Al willing
That's
to join
with
her.
The big
Yeah, she seems to
attitude.
be with Carlo rather than with Joey.
So Carlo wants Joey to apologise for the heckling.
Which he does.
Yeah, through gritted teeth. But the hot-headed Mac again attempts to go for him.
Yeah, there's something wrong with him. He's clearly got no control of his emotions.
This is why, as we mentioned at the top of the show, there's a big issue with what Sam is here to do.
Yeah. Oh, it's outrageous.
In any case, Gregorio offers them a 2-week stint at his hotel in Vegas.
This causes a couple of problems.
What?
Well, the first one is that Lou, who's just fired them, now wants to rely on his contract and retain their services. The second one is Mac, as you can imagine, very unhappy because this offer only stands if Frankie's included in the performance.
But Gregorio tells them to work something out, and he will see the 3 of them on Friday. So this is the first indication that he has a thing for Frankie.
Well, he then literally says to her that they'll have dinner together when she arrives, which doesn't please her too much, but Mac's fine with it. In fact, he speaks on her behalf and agrees.
He leaves, the mafioso that is, and they continue to argue with each other. And Lou threatens to sue as they all go their separate ways, and Al and Sam wonder what they've gotten themselves into.
Sam it's quite meta here. He says that Carlos like someone from a movie.
Yes.
And Al points out that he's well connected and probably has something to do with Mac's imminent disappearance. Sam doesn't like the sound of disappearances. And this is where we hear the bit from the top of the show about him most likely being killed and never seen again.
We find them on the road, where as Sam drives, Al tries to explain to him what the secret of comedy is, but he doesn't care as he's not funny and doesn't want to hear that Al was a stand-up. He assumes he's going to be told that.
Yeah, but he's not. Al was never a stand-up, but he accepts that as a scientist, Sam is not expected to be funny. At this point, the other 2 are sleeping in the back, but it's still quite bold of Sam to assume that they will stay asleep while he chats to Al openly.
Of course, especially when you're driving, you're never really in that much of a deep sleep.
Yeah. Al's advice to Sam is basically to learn the songs, bluff your way through these routines, and then get Mac saved at the end of it.
Yeah, he says that Ziggy can help as she or he has tapped into the comedy legends such as Abbott and Costello and Laurel and Hardy, and he explains that the reason that they bombed was because Mac forced Frankie into the duo rather than creating a new trio.
Right, then modify the act.
Yes. However, the poor act itself wasn't the reason for the vanishing.
No, and I think Sam makes a reference to Mac being killed just as Frankie is waking up, and she asks what he's talking about.
This is weird. She finds out they've been driving for 10 hours and it's now 4 a.m. Firstly, that's a massive amount of time to be sleeping in a car for 10 hours.
Yeah.
It's hard to sleep that long in a bed.
Well, they didn't fall asleep at the start. They could have been awake for 4 hours and fallen asleep.
Wait, why would you say we've been driving for 10? When you wake up...
She knew you'd been driving for 4, then she fell asleep for another 6 hours and didn't realise she'd been asleep for 6 hours.
But you wouldn't say that. You would talk about... Anyway, their show was at 6 o'clock then. That didn't look like a 6 o'clock performance. There was gangsters out with their malls. It looked very much like a sort of 11 o'clock
Yeah, they
show.
were on the road by 6, so it must have been earlier than that.
No, it's now 4 a.m.
Yeah, so
and he says they've been driving for 10.
So they started driving at 6?
Yes, exactly.
So the show must have been finished at 5:30 at the latest.
No chance you've seen that. That was
a dinner tour.
Yeah. Anyway.
Frankie insists that they pull in for coffee at Gallup
in New Mexico. And they leave Mac sleeping in the car as she mentions hearing him talk about Mac being killed.
Sam kind of covers a bit saying the audience will kill them if they're not funny, and Al for some reason decides it's important to correct his use of language here.
They enter the place and they're told to sit anywhere by an enthusiastic waitress, and they're immediately joined by the now irritating Mac.
Oh, beyond irritating. This is just the worst behaviour we've seen from any character in this entire series.
He's got a new lease of life and obnoxiously tries to put on an act in front of the disinterested patrons, which includes a big trucker.
It's not even a funny act.
Understandably, the trucker is not amused and squares up to Mac, whose anger issues are clear to see as he's ready to have a go before Sam manages to sit him down in the booth. Now, at this point I noted, violence isn't always the answer, but sometimes it is the answer. What Mac needs is a bloody good hiding for once. He keeps doing this and Sam keeps pulling him away. take one beating and say, right, did you like that? No.
Well, Frankie raises this point because she asks him why he does this. Why does he force Sam to step in and save him over and over again? So it must be his common behaviour.
Yeah, Mac doesn't like this, and he sarcastically asks if he should wait on her help, which leads Sam to point out that women are capable of looking after themselves, which he patronisingly takes as a joke.
It's a really weird exchange. And Al is very much of the view that this wasn't the popular opinion of 1959 anyway.
No, that women had some sort of agency of their own.
Yeah. This winds Frankie up when Mac laughs at the idea. And
I think another fight starts here, which Sam tries to calm as the shocked waitress looks on.
We then get into another sort of head-to-head where Frankie tries to list funny women, because Mac says women can't be funny, which is one of these tropes that's still here today.
Yeah.
And every time she lists one, he names, I think, a male collaborator that's worked with her.
Yes.
That he presumably is giving credit to for the comedy.
And then he goes further than that. He reiterates that she is not wanted. It's very sort of...
He's cruel.
Cruel, yeah.
There's not even any compassion in it.
There's a nastiness about it. But Sam points out that they have to make it work, as DeGorio wants them all, and so without her, they won't have this gig. So he reluctantly agrees to give her 5 minutes on stage.
But that's not good enough. She says that is one bit, and she wants 3 bits with them and one on her own, or she's not doing it, which I presume would suit Mac fine.
Now, this causes them to... This is horrible.
This was so painful to watch.
So they start to improvise an act based on... Now, Steve Allen's really a big fan of Steve Allen. I've listened to a lot of his interviews on YouTube, some of his audiobooks. A very smart guy, really cool guy, Steve Allen. But anyway, they improvise an interview with a superhero. I think, is it Supergirl?
Yeah, well, Supergirl and Superman, I think it's meant to be.
Right, okay.
The problem is that none of them are good at improv.
Yeah, they're terrible. I mean, improv is generally quite cringy anyway. Well, I mean, looking back, if you watch Whose Line Is It Anyway, and what's the one the Frankie Boyle...
Mock of the Week,
yeah, and they'll take their turn on stage. Yeah. I'm sure that actually we're only showing the good ones. They'll probably edit out the garbage. Yeah, improv can't. I'm sure it's a great technique for honing your skills and sharpening up your performance.
Yeah, how to get yourself into a character and stuff like that.
It's the type of thing that you should do in a sort of workshop. It should not be. Yeah, it's horrible to watch.
There's a reason that Ryan Stiles and Colin Mockery didn't go on to be great big stars.
Who?
Exactly. Anyway. They try this skit and Mac tries to leave but gets sat back down by Sam. However, the waitress is not pleased with their loud and obnoxious behaviour. Yeah, she wants them to get down off their seats where they're now standing. So they head out to the car where, based on Al's advice, Sam tries to keep the energy of the improv going.
The coffee wasn't that great anyway. Oh, yes, it was. The coffee was great.
Come on, Sam. Keep it going, keep it going. You
Oh,
gotta make
hey,
this
hey,
act
this
work.
is Dave Parker here, your man on the street. And I'm here today chatting with...
Oh, Supergirl!
Supergirl, and I'm, Superman. Ha-ha! So, tell me, you supers, what's an average day like for you guys?
Well, we usually like to start the day with a big heaping bowl of kryptonite cereal.
Ha-ha! Oh, not kryptonite. That would kill him.
And 2 points for the big fella.
He's right.
Well, not if we're super people.
She's right. Especially if you're super people.
Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going.
But tell me this, though. How do super people,
Have sex.
Davey!
Well, you know, that's the way my mind works.
See that? She can't handle it. This is the real world, kid. In the real world, grown-up people like to hear about grown-up things like sex.
Oh, yeah, well, if doing smuts is what this act is all about, you can just count me out.
Schmutz.
I won't do it.
Yeah? Well, that's because you can't do comedy. If you're a real comedian, then anything you did would be funny.
And now I am supposed to take a lesson from Mr. I can't keep my fist out of anybody's face because I'm so mad at the world?
Mad at the world? Is this because you want so desperately to be funny but can't?
You know what your problem is? You hate women.
Oh, so now you're Sigmund Freud.
I'm not Sigmund Freud, but I am a comic. Why won't you give me a shot?
Because you're a waitress.
Why are they doing this, Al?
I'm a waitress and
They're in love.
What?
Yeah, sure, they're
What?
crazy about each other, but they haven't got a clue how to handle it. Yes, I had the same thing going with my my fourth wife. Yeah, oh, she drove me crazy.
Al, look at them. They're gonna kill each other. Now, what am I gonna do?
Al is a big part of the problem in this episode.
Al's been a part of the problem in a lot of episodes, or certainly not an aid.
Yeah, he doesn't move the plot anymore. He used to be useful to Sam, and now he's just either an irritant or useless.
Yeah, complaining or having no information.
And it's not the actor's fault. We should say he's still performing
Yeah.
at a very high level.
No,
It's
we're
the
talking
way that
about
the
Al.
character's been written.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I don't understand why they've done this to the character.
I think because, you know, the position he has, it would be far too... he's the equivalent of the mobile phone today. You have to have a way of making him not do what he can do, or else it would... the story would be over in 10 minutes. He knows what's going to go on.
It reduces him to like a caricature of himself.
Yeah.
And it just becomes the Scott Bakula show, which I'm sure folk like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Al's there. That's the problem, isn't it? He's there to try and be the comic foil, the comic relief, and that can become a bit annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not what we came to enjoy the character for.
Yeah. Anyway, feeling that things are getting out of control, Sam goes over and asks how super people kiss, but rather than demonstrate this on Mac, as he had hoped, Frankie grabs Sam and proves that she knows what she is doing.
This immediately leads this causes Mac to descend into paranoia, instantly accusing Sam and Frankie of sleeping together before telling Sam to lose the broad or find yourself another partner.
Which gets an old boy from Al. Yeah, I've noted that he's insecure and very, very angry.
Pathetic.
He's an incel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's deliberately not...
Self-sabotage, yeah. I've got that note later on as well.
Okay.
At this point, Sam thanks Al for the sarcastically great idea before all three of them get in the car and head to Vegas.
Yeah, we catch up with him at DeGorio's hotel as he explains that they have performances at 9:30 and 11:30 while getting very touchy-feely with Frankie.
Yeah, they're introduced to Charlie, the stage manager, and Carlos sleazes on to Frankie, as you say, suggesting they have lunch. But
well, it's not a suggestion, is it?
He's strongly suggesting.
Yes.
Sam tries really pathetically to intervene in this.
Yeah, Sam says they've got rehearsals. So DeGorio says that after the first show, they will have dinner and he will teach her how to gamble. So at this point, yeah, Sam tries to physically move him out of the picture.
Yeah, and he says that they'll both join him for dinner, but he's told in no uncertain terms that if he shows up, it would be a bad idea.
He leaves and Frankie repeats Al's fear that she is going to be the main course. And on top of that, she is worried about what they will do with Mac and his mood.
Yeah, they haven't spoken to him since they arrived in Vegas, and she offers to step aside, but Sam says she improves the act and that although there have been lots of successful duos, they could be the first big comedy trio.
But I think they've even mentioned it before. There's the Three Stooges.
Yeah, Al mentioned it and Sam didn't like the reference.
Don't know what, they were a comedy trio who were very, very successful, so much so that there was a movie not long ago made about them and we know who they are in 2024.
What were their names?
Larry, Mo and somebody else.
Tinky Winky.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Sam explains to her that everything will be fine once he makes Mac understand that the reason that he can't stand Frankie is because he loves her. I don't like this. It's not an excuse to treat people badly.
No, it's not an excuse, but it's still the reason. We also should mention that Al has reminded Sam that they go on in 7 hours, Mac still dies, and it definitely has something to do with DeGorio.
Yeah, but the fact that he loves her isn't the reason. It's the fact that he can't handle that. That's the reason. He's scared of it.
Yeah.
So it's not the loving her that's the problem. It's the fact that he is just a terrible person. Yeah.
Well, he doesn't know how to harness his emotions or direct them.
He's emotionally incontinent. He's got no control, which leads to him to lash out and behave like an immature child. Anyway.
She thinks this is ridiculous, but does agree that she feels that way about him and is unsure if she can teach him how to love due to his anger problems. And I think she's very perceptive there, yeah. Like, I don't know if I can change this guy.
And why should she try?
I don't want to change this guy.
Yeah, it's not like it's her one chance at love. She'll be fine. She tells Sam not to tell Mac how she feels before she heads off. And at this point, Al tells Sam that Mac's got this self-sabotaging instinct, not just in his personal romantic relationships, but also his professional relationships.
Yeah, he says that he doesn't like himself, so if someone else does, then they themselves must be a horrible person.
He cites Woody Allen in this, but then he's not 100% sure if that's the right reference.
Yeah. Well, Woody Allen's obviously known to be a neurotic and hopeless in love in many of his. In fact, I was actually watching Play It Again, Sam, last night. Absolutely fantastic. But anyway,
at this point, Sam concludes that his task here must be to get them together, which Ziggy agrees with, but seems highly dubious to me.
I don't even understand this. Getting them together. Okay, so he's killed by DeGorio because he is after Frankie.
Yeah. If they were totally not together, it would be fine.
Yeah. And getting them together, a killer, somebody that's in the mafia who has no qualms about having people put to sleep. That relationship, if he wants her, then you're putting him at risk, because the one way to make sure he's not in a relationship is just to kill him, and then there we go.
That doesn't really protect her, though.
But he's not here to protect her. He's here to save Mac.
Well, that's his thoughts. Maybe he's here to save Frankie.
But nothing happens to her.
Because he saves her. But if she ends up going to dinner with Carlo, it could go nasty.
No, but in the real history, nothing happened to her.
No, she wasn't killed anyway. We know that. Anyhow, Sam goes off to look for Mac, thinking in monologue that he hasn't had a heart-to-heart like this in a while. And as you say, or as you said at the start of the show, he wonders whether this is what the best solution would be for Frankie.
True. However, I would contradict him here.
Would you?
Yeah, he has these sort of heart-to-heart all the time.
He says he's not had it with a friend.
But of course, none of these people are his friends.
Well, then he immediately questions whether Mac is in fact his friend. Yeah.
No, but he's not a friend. Even if you liked the guy, he still wouldn't be your friend. He's a stranger.
You just met him today.
Yeah, and as you said there, he wonders about the objective here. Should he bring them together? And I think we've discussed this a few times with his own personal backstory. His sister, who ended up with an abusive, violent partner. He should not be setting Frankie up with someone who, from what we understand, there's a high likelihood that he would be we know he's violent. We know he's got a short temper and he's angry. It's not a huge leap to think that, if he's with someone all the time and there's stresses and strain, this type of work as well.
It's more likely than not that he will be violent towards her at some stage.
I would say so, yeah. He lunges at strangers. So at some point she's going to annoy him.
He doesn't have any control. It's not like he's choosing to lunge at these folk. He has no control.
I think this is disgusting that they're getting put together, and then on the assumption that when they get together he'll stop acting like this.
Madness. And that's a lie that people have told themselves for years.
I can change him.
Or he'll be different.
With me. After the first time as well, he apologised. He won't do it again. I know he's sorry.
The point of this leap should have been to explain to Frankie that she can do better.
Yes.
And she doesn't need to.
And if you want to say, you'll get Mac the help that he requires to.
He can go to therapy and she can find a nice person.
Probably the mafia guy would treat her better.
Well, he had a girlfriend at the time, didn't he? So I'm not sure he's the right guy.
No, he'll ditch her. She was just an arm candy for that night.
Right, okay.
When he finds it, he'll settle down. That's what he's looking for. He hates the fact that he has to just, these ladies of the night all the time. He wants someone deep down, he cries at night because
he wants a comedian.
He wants his own woman he can love and cherish and look after.
Okay.
She will complete him.
Sam eventually finds Mac at the card table
and tries to lighten the mood with a joke, but Mac is not in the mood to talk or listen.
Or take advice.
He ignores Sam's advice about taking another card from the dealer and then storms off when he busts, claiming that Sam has stabbed him in the back. But Sam doesn't give up and follows him to the restroom.
Why don't you just admit it, all right? You love her.
Take a powder.
You love her, and you're afraid of her.
Why the hell would I be afraid of a broad?
Because she's beautiful, she's intelligent, and she's not afraid to stand up to you, even though you act like an ogre sometimes.
Just because she's got you wearing cheap for glasses doesn't make her tough or talented. Or beautiful. So she looks good.
Come on, you're crazy about her, right?
You're nuts. If I'm so crazy about her, then how come we always fight every time we're together for more than 5 minutes?
Well, as far as I can tell, it's because that's the only way you know how to relate to a woman you're attracted to.
Yeah, Yeah? Why the hell do you have to go and kiss her?
Actually, she kissed me.
Why'd she have to kiss you?
Because she was trying to get your attention.
Oh, she got my attention. Now everything's ruined.
Nothing is ruined.
Look, Frankie is the kind of a person...
Look, Mac, she knows how you feel about her. What she doesn't get is why you treat her like she's...
Like what? Like I'm smart? What happens if she finds out I'm crazy about her, huh? Then she'll go out with me. And then we're really gonna like each other, and then we're gonna wanna see each other all the time, and then maybe we're gonna end up getting married and having kids, and then we'll buy a house. We'll buy a house. That's when the trouble really starts too, because there'll be fights over the bills, then the anger and the hatred, and then bam, ends up in divorce. And next thing you know, we don't talk to each other ever again, and the kids.
Why don't you start by asking her out again?
What?
Before you ruin your kid's life, take the first step. Ask her out. But not until we work everything else out on the act night before we don't look like nerds on stage.
Like what?
Never mind. Look, let's just go find Frankie and work on this thing. Give ourselves a chance. What do you say?
Okay.
All right. Come on, let's go.
I came in here for a reason.
That's weird. It's almost as if this is the first time that there's been an acceptance that Mac is attracted to Frankie. But we heard earlier that they went out on a date or...
Yeah, they've seen each other, until he turned when Sam invited her into the act. That's what they said.
So why is he now, this is a sort of revelation that he fancies her?
I don't know. Maybe they just thought it was a casual thing and now it's turned out to be serious. I was almost disgusted there when he shook Sam's hand without washing his hands after coming out the toilet cubicle, but he saved it by saying he's not actually been yet.
Yeah. Later, in the sort of the ballroom, Al watches as the three of them practice their extremely unfunny routine.
Not at all funny is what I've written.
Yeah, it's just...
I don't get it. None of the things that they do here are funny.
Nah. But they all appear to be getting on well for a change. They're enjoying themselves at least.
Yeah. As they come off stage, Charlie tells them they need to be back in 20 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
Sam acknowledges that, while Mac tells Frankie she was great and he's sorry and he's crazy about her.
And I think he also restrains himself from offering any sort of feedback. You're quite good, but hey, you could do this different. It's just a pure compliment, which was the first time in the episode we've seen him be nice and considerate.
That's it. She suggests that they start over and she kisses him, which leads Sam to want to leap.
But he goes nowhere, and a nervous Al admits that he has a bad feeling, just as DeGorio turns up with I think it's a fur coat for Frankie.
Yeah, and he indicates that other clothes for underneath it are optional.
Which causes Mac to launch himself at him, and I think this time he lands a punch.
He does.
They're pulled apart, and the ruffled mafia man warns him that he's made a very big mistake before Mac returns to type and
accuses outrageous. It's outrageous behaviour.
Accuses Frankie of being a user like all other incel.
Red alarm bells, lights,
and he runs
flashing,
off.
everything.
So why is he blaming her?
Exactly. It's unbelievable behaviour. This is why Sam should be looking at this going, okay, we need to save her from this guy.
Yes, exactly. At this point he goes, right, this is not what I should be doing here.
Yeah. No, it should be obvious.
Al is more bad news.
Yes, apparently history has changed.
They don't perform that night, and Mac's body is found in the desert in 1982.
Also 1985.
And 1989. I quite like that line.
Yeah.
I've got less sympathy for... Maybe it's just for the best.
Yeah, maybe we should just leave
because even if he saves... This is the thing. Even if Sam saves Frankie from him, you'll find some other woman and she'll also be a potential victim.
Yeah, so unless you're getting him the help that he needs
to be dead.
He should be just left to, the desert.
If you know a guy's in the mafia, there's a prime example. It's not just like he is a bully, like he'll hit a woman behind closed doors.
Yeah.
He's quite devious. He's shown here he is absolutely out of control. He's punching a mafia guy in his own hotel. That shows he's not just a scared bully. He cannot control himself.
Yeah, because he says later on he doesn't believe that they'll actually try to kill him.
This is mental behaviour.
Connection with reality.
No. Absolute whack job here. He deserves it. You start punching mafia guys. What are you going to...
Yeah. Frankie should be seeing these red flags.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sam tells her to go talk to Mac while he goes to speak to Carlo, and Al heads off to run some scenarios with Ziggy.
He says it again, another thing he says these days. He doesn't do anything, does he?
He never comes back with a scenario. No.
And why does he need to run them? Surely he's got the handling.
He's sitting there, it's 80%, 70%. Oh, no, hang on, I need to go and run scenarios. No, that's an excuse.
You've got to program it yourself. How you go, Al?
No, he's probably needs a toilet break or something.
Frankie catches up with the RC Mac in the lobby and declares her love for him and assures him that she had no intention of going out with DeGorio.
Mac just tells her that he doesn't buy it.
And so he says he doesn't need her or Sam, and they should go it alone. He's, again, just a childish little...
Yeah, well, fine, if you're going to be like that, get lost.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Rather than tell him to F off, she agrees.
Yeah. Well, she says that he's got the talent and the guts to make it on his own, but he shouldn't always be running away. And he starts challenging her on whether she actually understands him or not, and she tries to tell some sort of weird story about being bullied when you're a kid and then having to make jokes and stuff. It's a bit of a trope.
Where did this come
No,
from?
she's made it up. She's assumed this is the case, and he kind of acknowledges that it basically is the case before Sam shows up and tells him that he should be listening to her.
Yeah, he tells him not to throw away a career and relationship by setting everyone else up to fail as an excuse for when things go wrong.
It's not really what he's done. That's come out of nowhere.
Yeah. There is too much sort of cod psychology in this episode.
Yeah. Anyway, Frankie asks Mac to trust her and they kiss again before Sam stops that nonsense and brings everyone back to reality. There's also a threat here, and Al notes the time frame is shifting.
I think this is the point where Mac tries to act a tough guy again by claiming that he's not worried that DeGorio would try and harm or kill him.
Sam says he's arranged to meet Joey backstage. That's the guy who was heckling them at the start of the episode, between the shows, and talk peace.
So backstage, Mac tells the nervous Frankie that she looks gorgeous, as Al tells Sam that they've got to leave right now as DeGorio is going to grab Mac.
Yeah, there's a singer on stage. I thought she wasn't very good. I know she was meant to be good.
I think she was good, yeah.
I thought her finish was not up to par.
Really?
Anyway, Al then immediately changes his mind.
Well, Ziggy does, yeah. And says that they have to stay as Daryl F. Zanuck is in the audience and he is going to sign him to a contract which leads Sam to meeting his wife and having kids. That's not what he's there for.
Well, apparently it is now.
What's Sam meeting and having kids got to do with it?
I don't know. Anyway, they go on stage and somehow, despite none of the jokes being funny and none of the acts making sense, it goes well.
Including Sam confidently singing during his solo piece.
Scott Bakula loves a wee singing bit.
Can't get enough of it. That, singing and stripping down.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't have his shirt off for this.
Yeah.
Anyway, at the end of the show, as Frankie and Sam return to the stage for a second bow, Mac is noticeably absent.
Yes, DeGorio and his henchmen have stepped into the corridor and he is grabbed.
Sam and Frankie are alerted by Al, or Sam is, and he alerts Frankie, and they head off after him down to the kitchens,
where Sam manages to punch one of the goons but has difficulty with a bigger fellow, and even his kung fu doesn't work and he ends up with a face full of cream.
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
Cream pie.
Joey shows up at this point and asks Sam and Frankie to walk away. He says the hassle and the argument is not with them.
Well, it's ended with a gunshot, isn't it? I think fired into the ceiling.
Well, there's a bit of a, disagreement still.
Al tells Sam that he has to do something right now, and so he asks to speak to DeGorio on his own so that they can work something out.
Look, Mr. DeGorio, if you kill Mac tonight, sooner or later, someone is going to report him missing. And then everybody's going to know it was you.
Missing and dead are very different things, Mr. Parker. And no body means no charges.
He's right, Sam. Hassles, but no charges.
Yeah, but don't you see that none of this would have happened at all if you...
Me?
Yeah. Be careful. This is a life and death situation.
Yeah, if you hadn't come on to Mac's fiancée.
What was that?
That's right, Mr. DeGorio. See, that's why I didn't want to go out with you, because Mac and I are...
Engaged. Yeah, we're very, very engaged.
Well, why didn't anybody tell me these two were engaged? Frankie, sweetheart, wish you the best. McKay, don't ever hit me again. Now come here. We're gonna have the wedding at this club. I'm gonna take it down the aisle. We're gonna have a band, a party. Joey, I love wedding.
I have to say that was a very jarring ending for me. The juxtaposition of his threat as a proper mafia killer, who, a Joe Pesci type, to now this bumbling comedy version is...
Yeah, and it's like, I get it that his honour is satisfied. There's no disrespect here. He's not made out to be a fool, so
He
he's
get
okay.
punched in the face off Sam. He wouldn't allow that to
No,
happen.
he got punched in the face off of Mac.
Sorry, Matt. Yeah, but
He punched him back at the end there. That's him even.
but Matt done it in public.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I just didn't buy that. It was just too Hollywood. And the guy turned. And I walk you down the aisle. What my father? Nah, I'm doing it.
I met you 2 days ago.
Yeah.
No. Al tells Sam at this point that Mac and Frankie moved to Connecticut, have a couple of kids, and they're still married in 1999. It doesn't say whether Mac still beats her, but it's probably the case.
They also have Broadway hits as well as backhanders. While he's talking, we see Sam pick up a cream pie.
Yeah, he's obviously annoyed at Al because of his behaviour.
And for some reason, Al looks nervous and Sam thinks he can do something that he knows he can't.
Yeah, no, he ends up sticking a cream pie to a pillar.
That's going to look weird for everyone else watching.
Yeah. Al does I think it's a George Burns line at the end.
Yeah, he says, "Good night, Gracie," flicks his cigar. Now, we've discussed Gracie in another podcast.
Yeah, on our fascinating Star Trek podcast, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home.
Yep, the whales in the, not the zoo, the
SeaWorld
place, yeah.
George and Gracie.
Yep.
Anyway, Sam leaps at this point into a guy on a beach. He finds a pile of clothes, picks up a bra and a beautiful naked woman who's clearly not actually naked if you're watching in high definition.
Yeah, well, already changed that to 4K just to check. I think it's quite risky, but for that type of show it was.
Well, they seem to have got away with it. I mean, it's obviously a very well-known face to anyone who's a Star Trek fan.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week.
We will do. She comes over, she says, "This is so sexy," and kisses him a lot, which naturally causes Sam to panic.
Yes. Oh boy.
And that's the end. I just don't think the implication of a happy ever after here makes any sense.
No, I won't be happy ever after.
No. And I don't think they were funny.
They weren't funny, and as soon as this act starts to go down, let's go downhill, they'll have their day.
Yeah. Even one bad performance, one bad review.
Yep.
She missed, blame her.
She missed times, something, and it doesn't go down well. She's getting a slap, at the very least.
Yeah, Sam's done her wrong, badly here.
Yeah.
And I can't see Mac as anything but a villain in this episode. There's no sympathetic.
He doesn't deserve for the help that he gets.
No. Or the outcome that he gets.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. This originally aired after a 3-week gap on the 13th of May 1992. Probably not worth the wait. Directed by Michael Zinberg. This was the last of his 9 Quantum Leaps. If you want to hear more about him, head to the podcast for Good Morning Peoria. The writer, I'm sure you'll be unsurprised to hear, was Deborah Pratt. 14th of her 20. If you want to hear more about her, I think we talked about her on the podcast for The Colour of Truth back in season 1. Frankie was played by Amy Yazbek.
Yeah. No, I've seen her on quite a few things. Robin Hood Men in Tights, and she did Mask, and also she was married to someone very famous.
Yes.
But yeah, she was gorgeous in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yeah, she was made Marion.
Yes.
This was her only Quantum Leap. She's also in, as you say, in The Mask, Pretty Woman, Wings. She was in for a while. She's now 61. Her last screen appearance was 2016. She was married to John Ritter from 1999 until his premature death in 2003.
Yeah, well, I think they were together a lot longer than the marriage.
Yeah. Mac was played by Bob Saget. He's a famous face. Yeah. He's only Quantum Leap. He's also in things like How I Met Your Mother. I think he narrated that. Full House was the thing that he was famous for. Yeah.
Now, Full House, I was watching that recently because I do this type of thing. I read or listened to John Stamos' autobiography, which is quite good, but I wasn't aware of Full House. In the sense that I hadn't watched it.
Yep.
I didn't even know who John Stamos was. These guys weren't that show, and Bob Saget and Stamos were not big stars in the UK.
No,
but back then it wasn't a thing. And in fact, the only reason I knew who John Stamos was because in the early 2000s he was married to Rebecca Romagen Stamos, who went with the Stamos name, and she was always in FHM and Maxim magazines. I was like, who's a lucky guy? So
she's a big sci-fi star herself. Yes. Star Trek and X-Men.
Yeah, but yeah, decent read done that. So because of that, I've started watching Full House on. Again, that's a sort of gentle nonsense comedy. Anyhow,
Saget was also in other things, Entourage, Shameless, lots of things. He died, sadly, in 2022 at the age of 65 after an accident which he creepily predicted in some detail a year earlier on a podcast with his wife. He was apparently a close friend of David Graff as well, who's appeared on this show previously. We talked about him then.
Not David Graff, who played Tackleberry.
Yes.
Really? Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember, both David Graffs were on this.
Brother of Steffi.
Yes. Carlo DeGorio was played by another familiar face, Robert Miranda. His only Quantum Leap. He's best known, probably to you, for Midnight Run. For me, for Sister Act. And in both of those, he played a sidekick called Joey.
Yeah, and
in this, he has a sidekick called Joey.
This is the issue I've got, and I think he's probably asked for this. Throughout his career, he was always the sidekick.
Well, Sister Act was after this.
Okay, sure, but he looks like a sidekick. He doesn't have the presence of...
He's sidekick energy.
And in this episode, his sidekick looked like the real sort of Don.
Yeah.
But I reckon he said, come on, for once, can I be the main man?
Maybe.
He's good.
Yeah. He's also been in things like 13 Days, Heat, The Fall Guy.
Oh.
And he's still active now at the age of 72. Joey was played by Tom LaGrua. This was his only quantum leap. Also in things like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, ER, Seinfeld, Cagney and Lacey. He's now 74. His last screen credit was in 2002. And in 2011, he started work as the National Director of Contract Strategy for SAG, or SAG. And he went on to become the Executive Director of Contracts for SAG-AFTRA.
There you go.
Lou, this is an interesting one, the club owner from the start of the show. He was played by Mark Lonow. This was his only quantum leap. I recognised him immediately as the angry father of the bride who punches Adam Sandler in The Wedding Singer.
Okay.
He's also been in things like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Chicago Hope, Charlie's Angels, and you will know him from one episode of Columbo.
Which one?
Butterfly and Shades of Grey.
Who did he play?
Ted Malloy.
Can't remember him.
He is the co-owner of a chain of comedy clubs in LA called The Improv.
Oh, yes. That's a very famous.
Yeah. It started off as one, became a chain. He's now 80. His last screen credit was in 2016. The Trucker, he's another interesting guy that they got upset in the cafe at the start.
Yes.
Played by a guy called Pete Schrum. This was his only quantum leap. He's also in things like Terminator 2. I think he's the barman who shoots at the guy in Terminator 2.
That not be the guy, the biker at the start, he takes his glasses from?
He's a barman.
Barman, right. Okay,
Who
well, must
shoots
be,
with a gun. Yeah.
Right.
He was in The Man Who Wasn't There, Give Me a Break, TJ Hooker, and for over a decade was the Coca-Cola Santa Claus.
Really?
Despite the fact that he had previously played a violent Santa in the film Trancers.
Okay. He said, now, in his trivia, I think in IMDb, he said he was 7 foot. I don't believe that. 7 foot is far too tall.
Yeah, I don't think that's possible.
No, I think that's his PR height.
Yes. He died, sadly, in 2003 of a heart attack at the age of 68. One last one. Jim Ryan, who you might have heard of, had an uncredited role as a guy at the Comedy Club. This was the second of his 2 quantum leaps. He was also uncredited as a wrestling enthusiast in Heart of a Champion. He's always uncredited. He's been in dozens and dozens and dozens of things, including Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, The Addams Family, In the Line of Fire, Seinfeld, loads more. Never gets a credit.
Oh.
He's most famous for being a writer on over 900 episodes of Jeopardy. So there you go. That's his main thing.
That's good, yeah.
In terms of trivia, this is obviously the leap that Al must be referring to when he talks to Donna in The Leap Back at the start of the season about Sam performing stand-up in the Catskills. There's an episode of Bob Saget's podcast, Bob Saget's Here For You, still available, I believe, where he has Scott Bakula on and they talk about stories from his time on Quantum Leap.
Oh, that'd be cool.
In terms of things that we learned, Al was never a comedian, one thing.
No, and he had trouble telling his 4th wife that he loved her and they would argue because of this.
In respect of on this date, 30th of April 59, not much, but the episode's still going on the 1st of May, and that was when Jean Hoerni put in his patent application for the planar process, which has been noted as the second most important invention in the history of microelectronics, just after the junction transistor.
I've got a couple of things in. Born was Stephen Harper, former Canadian Prime Minister, and someone a bit more familiar to me is Paul Gross, also Canadian, an actor who starred in Due South. Do you remember that?
Rings a bell.
He's a Mountie.
Was that the one BBC on Saturday tea times?
Probably, he was a Mountie. I mean, how many Mountie-based shows did we watch?
Probably loads.
Really?
Me and My Horse.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was very good.
I'm pretty sure I used to watch that after MacGyver.
Okay. Number ones?
Yes.
In the UK, it was It Doesn't Matter Anymore by Buddy Holly, which was the first posthumous hit in the charts. He died a month or so earlier. Whilst in the US, they had the Fleetwoods. Now, a little bit risky here. The original title was Come Softly, but had to be changed to Come Softly to Me because of the double entendre. Yeah. Or maybe just single entendre, I'm not sure.
Perhaps. Next week, we wrap up season 4 with A Leap for Lisa, where Sam has to try and undo a serious case of the butterfly effect. So, we will see you in 1957.
Until then,
cheerio.
Bye-bye.